in like extremely.
Can
If I
I
put it on, yes, go
can I
on,
interject real quick?
please.
Just one moment. So, guys, I already shared this with the people who joined early. We're recording this session because there's a whole bunch of important things that are going to be shared by Sirinko just now. So, you know, if you don't want to publicly share your voice or your face, then please make sure to keep those private because this recording will be uploaded to our YouTube channel after the AMA. Sorry, Sirinko, go ahead.
No, no story needed. I will not have time to read any documentation, so please, if so, do this like even if you sorry, documentation, the notes. So even if you have a question, do this kind of raise hand thing. So I hear the ping or sudo like if you on top of the comments like ask anytime if things are unclear. Don't wait for the end.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll MC. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Let's go along in more like a community vibe as we always do. We're here together around the same table. I'll take a word for a bit, but anyone can ask uh, any time. Countdown of the meeting is running. Anyway, I'm going off the chat and I'm going into this. I prepared a few things today. So we do have Nimnode. What does that really mean? And the TLDR of that is that Nimnode, you can understand it as one binary, which is a tool for running anything which you knew about NIM architecture components so far. If you were running a mixed node or a gateway, it stays the same. The infrastructure as we have it, NIM mixed node is the same, except that now the operators will only be downloading one binary and migrate to that, which we're gonna go live through, and use this one binary for any type of your nodes. We call those functionalities. Those functionalities are either mixed node, enter gateway, or exit gateway. Enter gateway and exit gateway is basically same thing as from the point of binary, except that the exit gateway has enabled IP packet router and network requester. Those of you who've been following for a bit, which I guess is most of you, know that network requester now is not running on a allowed list of few whitelisted addresses, but it's running on new NIM exit policy, which has been around for several months, but now it's by default and the only choice. The difference for operator is that if you download a NIM node, you're gonna be having all these functionalities already on your machine, including IPR and NR and all those things. You're only changing through different commands which one of those you run. As of now, it's very simple because Nimnode can be run as one functionality, --mode command, only one of them in one time. Okay, so if you were running a mixed node and you're migrating to Nimnode mixed node, that's all you're gonna do. If you're running a gateway and you're migrating to Nimnode mode exit gateway, that's all you're gonna do. One machine, one Nimnode, one functionality, one account. Simple as, just a bit of a different syntax. Why is that? We have this overall goal that our nodes, as this NIM node, will be able to have multiple of those functionalities running at once. That means that an operator in foreseeable future will be able to choose multiple of those, and then the API will be picking the functionality of your node based on the network needs. So you will just choose how to expose your node. And again, as I said, you already have all of that in a NIM node. But as of now, you can only choose one functionally per one NIM node. So all of those you who run mixed node will be moving into NIM node mixed node. Those of you who run gateway will be moving into NIM node enter gateway or NIM node exit gateway, which again is the same thing, except that the exit gateway on top of that has enabled the modules of IP packet router and network requester with the new exit policy. This is literally what it is. We've had changed the way how we approach the documentation a little bit for more clarity. Let me just open my notes right here. Because the logic of the node changed as well. So some things which we had before in maintenance and people were getting close a little bit, we put already in preliminary steps. So except the wallet preparation, which you all know, we put VPS setup. And these are non-new things at all. We put here a nice link to good bad ISPs made by Tor community. Tor community is a very aligned and friendly community to us. We aim for the same thing. We don't compete with Tor really. We just might have a bit of more advanced solutions to some of the problems Tor tried to address since decades ago. This is good bad ISP page, which we definitely can and should use for deciding which ISP we're gonna be running on. But my wish really is to gather, behind NIM operator community and create our own page of such. CGI already asked as the first thing today whether it's gonna be somehow incentivized. Well, there are people who've been getting delegations or grants who already started to do this list. So let's see what's gonna come out of that. I'm not gonna say yes or no on incentivization, but for now it's more like a next week plan. Okay, now we need to understand what's actually happening and do the migration first. In the VPS setup and configuration, we have now some specs a little bit more narrowed down that we've had a few months ago, thanks to fast and furious testing. That means that for Nimnode to work, especially for the gateways, we expect 4 CPU cores, 4 GB RAM as a minimum. IPv4, IPv6, what have you. You have it there, and we moved things like configure your firewall and setting the ulimit into the preliminary steps as well, because people really should do that before they even start the node, right? But these are all known things. We just move them higher up. So literally what it takes, once you have your VPS set up, you have your wallet prepared, because yes, you're signing your node into the API, into our blockchain, which is looking into how the nodes work in mixing, routing, packets, and so on. Once you have that set up, you have main 3 steps, which each of them has its own page. That is to set up and run the node, which is simpler than ever. That's to configure the node. This is especially for the gateways, and we will come to that in a second. And only after you've done all that, step number 3 is to bond the node. The same logic applies if you're gonna be doing an upgrade from a node you had before and migrate to the NIM node. Is gonna be the same thing, right? You're gonna get your binaries, you're gonna set them up just as I'm gonna do now in front of you. We're gonna configure a few things, and then I'm gonna bond the new version to the API. Simple as, but it has a bit few steps for gateways than before. However, we try to make that as kind of like intuitive as possible. For those of you who kind of read through that or understand it very well, or gonna be doing it next time again or helping somebody else, I made here a quick setup, NIM node mode exit gateway. We make fun that it's like a 10 commandments, because it's literally 10 steps giving you links to another pages if you don't know how to do that. But it's like, get the binary, get the tunnel manager, do a bunch of things, run it, you're done. I'm not gonna go through these 10 fast steps yet, because I wanna explain first what is happening behind those steps. So what we should really focus on is these 3 pages properly. So first one is set up and run the node after your VPS is set up. I'll add a little note here. Some of you running exit gateways might have to change ISP, because you will figure out that it's simply impossible on the given services which you're running to get all the connectivity. And that's fine. We expect that has to happen. We do not have yet finished getting rewards on gateways. Some people getting, are part of grant programs. Some people are not running them as volunteers. Both is completely fine, and we love that. But to be very clear and transparent, there is no reward on gateways as its own mixed nodes as of now. This is coming out very soon. It's our next step. I also shared today what we have in a development, right? So we want to finish the gateway rewards and tokenomics. We want to finish the WebSocket setup and a little bit more things on, allowing multiple modes and that type of stuff. But this is all on to-do list. If we're gonna stick to the simple setup we have now, for example, here you see I got the wrong version because I built the documentation before the last release to have it ready for all of you. So to get the version, we're gonna get to that, but it's 1.1.0. But you can always get that right from your machine. You don't have to be looking nowhere online. You just get it directly from your node, and I'll show you in a second how I'll get to the live demo. Or actually, maybe let's get straight to live, so I don't go twice over that, because there'll be questions. Sudo have some really hot announcements as well. I already did get myself a nym node. Okay, I just got it to binaries. You can build it build the entire new nym platform, or you can just get binaries. I position it into nym binaries, a directory I created myself to have a bit of nice order. I run the machine as root. It's important. It's needed for the connectivity. So just for the version, you are not sure. Somebody told you, hey, there is something with Eclipse. Yes, those are the release numbers and the release names, but they have nothing to do with the nodes version. So to get the node version, the simplest way is that I get to my node and I run it with version flag. And here I get it, build version 1.1.0. Okay, there is nothing to be in doubt. That's my node. If I know that, hey, there is a newer version, actually everyone's been talking about next one, well, then maybe what I have to do is to download the new binary, right? That gives me a pretty clear clue. Let me just have a sip. I'll get right back to it. Okay, so I have nym node, I have the version. I of course run. I gave it permissions with Kmod. You have that in initial steps. This has been, nothing had changed in here. So now I'm running a gateway on this machine. How do I know? Is that if I run it under a systemd service. So if I run status name gateway service, it should come up. What did I do wrong? I always get a little bit like, oh, I'm talking to many people here. The funny thing is that I just ran that. Yeah, here we go. This is what happens when you run things out of your memory. Of course, look always into the documentation. Otherwise, this happens, particularly when you're under stress. So you see, I'm running nym gateway service. It's active and it's running. Okay. So what I'm gonna do, to make it very simple, I'll just follow the 10 steps, because I'm a person who is familiar with that, but it's, in long story short, the same things like having the node configuration. So the 10 steps are in nym node. Get or build the latest nym node binary. I have that. I downloaded it. Get network tunnel manager script and grant permissions. That's all in one command. As always, I would like our operators to get used to the fact that you actually do click on the link and visit what script you're getting, at least like, seeing who maybe made it, like, oh, Tommy made it. I can have a look who is Tommy, right? You're gonna get to know that, oh, where the Tommy works the most is actually in nym. Okay, that gives me some validity, so I'm not just downloading some script which I'm gonna run as root. This is always danger. We do these scripts to help operators for configuration, so you don't have to do it manually, but I still want you to get the culture of doing that extra step. It's a good hygiene to not to get tracked. And of course, check that the script here and in that download link is the same. So I'm gonna get that script and give it a permission. It worked. Nice. Following the manual. If you have a running nym node or nym gateway, stop the process. And in case your node was nym gateway, migrate to nym node now. Again, I'm running a quick nym node mode exit gateway setup. For mixed nodes, this is much simpler because for mixed nodes, you're not gonna do none of this network tunnel manager. From here, you're gonna get straight to migration, and that's it. I'm showing this because gateways, it's more difficult right now because you want to allow all these IPv4 and IPv6 and all this connectivity to be running. And in a second, I'll show you how you can check that that it's working. So I'm gonna stop the service as the guide tells me. And why I'm doing that here with the guide is because I want everyone who is present to see that's how it actually works. So I'll do service name gateway stop. I can have a look what I've been having here. It stopped. You see name gateway finished. That's my journal. Now I know it's not running, so I better get a bit fast. Migrate to Nimnode. I downloaded it as number one set, so I'll already have that. I'll check what migrate command really tells me. I'll pause here a little bit so you all understand. What's really happening on migration is that you point to a config file of your mixed node or of your gateway you had before, and copy this whole command, which basically tells you is a command nimnode migrate with a little flag config file pointing to your config file, and end conditional argument gateway or mixed node. Here I'm not defining whether it's enter or exit gateway. I'm only telling the new node if I before was running a mixed node or if I before was running a gateway. Well, it's pretty simple that I was running gateway, so I'm gonna migrate gateway. Of course, if you see somewhere this parenthesis with big number, big letters, change it for a correct value. This is your unique value, gateway ID. I'm changing it, executing, hop, done. Big attention. Please consider updating the version field of your existing node to nimnode. So this is the version you will want to put to your wallet later. I'm copying it on a side. Okay. So I migrated as the manual told me and initialized with the new node config. I know I will want to run that as a systemd again, right? Because that's how I ran it before. So I'll have a look in where we have that automation systemd in a node configuration. And what changed is literally nothing except that here is no mixed node or gateway. There is just nimnode service. So I'll create such file by running your favorite whatever text editor. And to that file, I'll paste this entire code. Then if I look here, make sure that you change, exec start full path, what it means. Here's a little bit of an example. If you're not familiar with kind of syntax and stuff, you get a little bit more example for that. Oh yeah, I did run it with Nano in the beginning, actually. So I'll exit this. This was, I got a good hint in here. No, that's okay. I'm in Vim and Nano at the same time. Sorry, I made a mistake. I copied it with Nano. This was a good hint. I copied it with Nano in the command. So I take that out because I will use Vim. So once again, thank you very much. So here we go. Now the colors are all nice. And again, I need to change where I was running. So my user is root, as I pointed out before. And the path changes as well. My one is root, nim binaries. That's where I had the node, nim node. And now I'm unsure about the command. Well, fair enough. I go back to the documentation, check the migration manual where you were migrate and exit gateway. And how was the command? I don't remember. That's completely okay. Command is run -- mode exit gateway. This -- mode is how you're referring whether you run exit gateway, entry gateway, or mixed node. That's all you need to put. Very important. I'm gonna push now and update to the documentation to give you bold message is to include this deny in it. Why? Because this is under chapter migration. So I don't want to initialize new node. I want to use the node which I already have. So I'm gonna add this to the path here. I'm gonna get rid of all this slug in the end, not to get any mess. I'm gonna change the ID, of course, because I had my ID. A little bit point here is that if you make a new node in nim node, you don't have to specify the ID. If you don't specify the ID, nim node will be generated as with ID default -nim -node. So once again, you do not have to no longer specify the ID. I do because I migrated node with this particular ID. So I check it again. I got this twice. That's wrong. As a failure of my copying. So that's the path I want to do. So for me, instead of running that, what I really did, I created a systemd file automation. I think most of you run it like that. Why? One, because if my ISP restarts or my node gets stuck for a little bit and it restarts, the service restarts as well. So I don't have to be babysitting my gateway 10 times a day. It does that automatically on 30 seconds after restart. Second reason is that by that I set up my ulimit as well. That's especially important for mixed nodes. And that's by default in the file I copied here. I save this. And I go back to documentation to see what I should be doing next. I was following these steps. In case your node was named gateway, migrate to this now. Okay, I didn't start the service yet because no one told me to do so. And then we're gonna play with this network manager. And again, this is just for gateways. You don't have to do none of the network manager stuff if you run only mixed node. You will just do the 2 commands of migrating and that's it. IP tables persistent is already installed. Network device, everything looks good. It dropped 0 packets on both IPv4 and IPv6. No packets being dropped. That looks solid. I'll run the next command to fetch them. Check it out. IPv6 address exists. It's successful. If it wasn't, that's fine, because the next number 6, you will apply that again, right? You will run this, and it will set your IPv tables. Operation IP tables rules completed successfully. If I didn't have that successful before, after this command, I should have it done. I can do again the command before and check if it worked all fine. And then, okay, if you didn't have a nim node service yet, create automation. I already did that, and start nim node service. I'll drop here. I'll do it without sudo because I run as root. No pun intended there, my friend. Oh, doesn't work. Okay, no panic here. Why not? Because we have a little error which already somebody pointed today in the documentation. But before that, you also have to do systemctl daemon reload and systemctl enable nimdo.service. All done. And then to the command before, somebody pointed out today there is a little syntax problem. We already have it edited right after the AMA. We're gonna put it to production. This little start comes after nimnode. So it's service nimnode start. And here we go. It's running. Obtaining network topology, having some cover packets already running, pretty nice. What does the documentation say next? Started, I can check my Nimtoon addresses because now the Nimtoon is running. You see, valid, 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 everything's good. And then a little nicety, you can check it out against the output. And the last point, number 10, is an additional check whether that really works. Joke through the mixnet. What does that mean? That means that you're gonna use your own gateway with the connectivity setup, and you're gonna do one through IPv4 and one through IPv6 connection through the entire mixnet to a joke server, and you should get returned 2 jokes if that works. Why does it take longer to get from first to second base than it does to get from second to third base? Because there is a short stop in between. You're gonna decide whether it's funny or not. A man is washing the car with his son. The son asks, "Dad, can't you just use a sponge?" Well, sometimes the jokes aren't that great, but they returned. That's the most important. This is part of Tommy's style, who created these scripts. I think it's hilarious that you get 2 jokes, which sometimes are good, sometimes not really. But what does that really mean? That we successfully get jokes through both of the connectivity sockets, right? Through IPv4 and IPv6, as I can see it here. This is a great success. Now, I'll go to my wallet, and I'm gonna add the version, update the version as I always do. Or if you do a new node, then you're gonna, bond it. And because, as always, you don't have to remember what your version really was, you can do a new command, which we have, bonding ID. And here you get all you need. You get the identity key, the Sphinx key. You need to find manually your location, your host, and then here's the version. I'm not gonna open here my wallet on the front of all the world, but basically what I'm gonna do, as always, I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna paste it to my wallet, which is another screen. You can't see it, but you know how it goes. You can also, for those of you who are completely new, worry not. We have maintenance, manual node upgrade, or actually the bonding page itself. Manual node upgrade has it here. So just go and follow the steps. If you follow with me, you can go to our new bonding page. So after configuration, we get bonding, and it again asks you in bold, make sure that you did all these steps beforehand. We did. We even get the 2 jokes, which is wonderful. That's the end of the configuration is really getting the 2 jokes. So we're gonna bond via desktop wallet, and I'm gonna run. I would run my node sign, but my node is already signed, so I'm gonna skip that part. But on a side of the wallet, I'm gonna go to update the gateway and drop there the version I just printed myself here, which is exactly this whole thing, 1.1.1.0 plus nimnode. So I'm copying this whole, pasting it to my wallet, done successfully, nice, and running. I can check the journal again. Everything seems to be running. So now I would like to introduce you our new thing called NIM Harbor Master. I'll already put it to announcement. I'll paste it here as well. What Harbor Master does, that's for the gateways. Those of you who were part of Fast and Furious already know, these checks, whether you enabled internet packet router, whether you enabled SOX5 network requester, and if you have exit policy enabled. You got Panda up until now. That was the top notch. The new default for exit gateways is a peanut. That means that not only I enabled that, but I made sure that my exit gateway IPv4 and IPv6 routes internally and externally. So it connects, it has everything enabled, and it routes. Why is this important? Is that because if you want your gateway to be useful in NIMVPN, all these things needs to be in check, otherwise it's not seen. How I'm gonna check whether where my gateway stands in that? I printed myself this nice information so I can get the key. And I'm gonna check the key against this list. Here we go. Now it has cross because it's fresh. Don't panic. Why is this happening? Is because the cache here is up to 1.5 hours. I will refresh. Maybe I was lucky. No, I would already see it here because my one starts with 2, but it's fine. We're not gonna have this call for 1.5 hours. Maybe I'll check later during this call or not. Oh, here we go. Already peanut. It gives you a whole bunch of things here. One, it shows that you got gateway on this version. It checks network requester, exit policy network requester, IPR, and all these things which I was talking about. And you can hover over that. And if you hover over that, you're gonna see on the left side the API logs of running the probe against your gateway. The logs of the probe. It's a program which is pulling everything which is visible. And on the right side, you're gonna be seeing all the possible things you might have enabled or not. So you can see all of them being true. Why? Because we just did the correct setup. Therefore, this gateway is now up to date because it's the last version and fully functional as entry and exit gateway. I'll repeat why, because every exit gateway is automatically an entry gateway, not vice versa. Right now, we have 42 gateways as peanuts. That means we have 42 fully functional gateways as entries as exit. And on top of that, we have 27 gateways which can fully function on as 92 plus 27 of gateways which can function as entry gateways. You also see the countries and the type of stuff. You can play with this tool. It's pretty nice. It has you can also see when it was last updated, so you don't have to panic. If you know you did everything correctly, you got your 2 jokes, and you make sure you updated it in a wallet against the NIM and Nix blockchain with your account, then yeah, just you see I had a red cross, hit F5 and you're gonna get the update very quickly. My note is here. So yeah, what you all want, those of you who run exit gateways, to get to this mode. Now to make it a little bit simpler, last few things, and I'll wrap up here. For the mixed node, it's much simpler than what I just said. I took the harder route because we've had major problem with not having enough gateways, especially those who would really work and route. So I wanted this on the record to be for all of you running the gateways. For those of you running mixed node, you basically have the same flow. You get the binary, whether you compile or you download it. You build your systemd service for automation if you want. And you run the migration, right? So here you got the first step, and then the second step you either run or you copy this step with the correct path to the service file of the nimnode systemd service file. Then you have to pause the other node, of course, or the other service. Then you start this one and you go back to the wallet and either bond a new node or you just update the version. That's all you gotta do. If your node was working before, these are the only steps. If you're running new node, make sure again that you run all the preliminary steps, that your VPS is up to date and stuff. Follow the configuration. We basically did. Here is VPS setup and automation. You can see, those of you who knew the docs from before, that it moved from maintenance in configuration because it's like highly suggested thing. And here is this connectivity test and configuration, which we basically did as well. It might prompt you if you really want to do that. You might have to click yes. It didn't prompt me. Well, guess why? I already did it before. But that's what you gotta do. If you have a problem, you can always go to troubleshooting section. We made a new troubleshooting section on VPS setup. So some of you might just not get it done even though you're running these commands. So you get back to your dashboard and you see if you can allow or buy extra, usually it's like $1 extra or something, allow for extra IPv6, you click it, you get that. If not, then contact your ISP if they allow that, or how is it possible. If it's not working in your ISP, check this table of Tor community, which again, I would like us to create our own table because name is very specific. But as of now, we can follow the table. It gives us great understanding whether our ISP is something to look at. So you have here long list, very nice done. Big credit to Tor community for this. Love that stuff. And you can see all the different ISPs. You want to have one which is doing all the routing needed. We still do have nodes in the release, name mixed node, name gateway, and we have archive for that as well. So it's not too hardcore, the kind of transition, but the archive pages, mind that those are not updated. You can see it on each page on top of that it tells you when it was last time updated. None of us is gonna touch it anymore, and it's soon gonna be terminated. It's just for backward compatibility if you wanna play around with that. But really what we want is everyone to get into Nimnode. Because that's what the latest version of your release really is, of your binary. If I would go back into setup and run, just to give you a little bit last overview, except some summary, always come back to this summary because that's where you got the logic I was talking about. The TLDR is one tool called Nimnode with functionalities having a flag mode, and those are mixed node or enter gateway or exit gateway. You can run only one at a time as of now, one machine, one node, one functionality, one wallet account. Okay, if you want to run more, you need to have more machines for now. It's a goal to have more available per node. Those of you who run gateways, harbormaster.nimtech.net, new tool. You can always check, replace your IP address or your domain, your gateway against the Swagger page. Really nice stuff. So you just copy this, replace the given domain or ID, depends if you have reverse proxy or not, and check all the roles which are possible. And here is all different usage. So the commands are explained a little bit in depth. Here is how to initialize and run. Please keep in mind that we have only a run command now. There is no longer init command. If you want to run only initializing without running, you have to flag it with init only. If you want to run running only without initializing, because you already did initialize, like with migration, you have to run deny init flag. Everything's written down here with examples, and you see that those commands aren't that many. How to initialize and run a mixed node under Nimnode, how to initialize and run enter gateway, exit gateway under Nimnode. So that's you have these modes. So I called it mode, exit gateway mode, enter gateway mode, mixed node. And on the bottom here is the migration, 2 commands per functionality. That's really it. there might be a bit more in troubleshooting. You see that there is now troubleshooting is divided between pages, so we have clear validators, Nimnode, and VPS set up in different pages. We moved also Smoosh out of the AFQ to the archive because it's disturbing. You still can see it, what is Project Smoosh and stuff. But because now that's the reality, that's the presence, we don't have the kind of like roadmap to that. Only what's gonna happen is that we need to bring reward scheme for the gateways and make sure that several modes of a NIM node can be run at once. Those are the next steps because we want operators to be able to expose themselves as multiple functionalities under one node and bond those to one NIM account. How sweet is gonna be that? It's gonna be easier for the operators. It's gonna be also much better for the network performance because the network will be choosing nodes according to their performance and the needs. That also makes the anonymity higher because you got more nodes to be able to be entry gateway or exit gateway or 1 or 2 or 3 layer of mixed node. So we're gonna have the set kind of much bigger. So these are the goals on front of us, but this is where we are right now. All right. My dear future peanuts, what are the questions? How can change from popcorn to peanut? I see Rocio here. I'm just grabbing something. Well, again, go to HarborMaster and see that a popcorn exit gateway connects, but does not route IPv4, IPv6. That means that you need to run. The configuration. Connectivity test and configuration. The steps I did with Tommy's funny script, I'm putting it here. That's the type of configuration you need to run on a VPS. In case it doesn't work, well, you gotta contact your VPS. You got troubleshooting, check it out. There's a few hints what to do. You might have to migrate. Wow, 14 minutes left. I know that Sudo has some hot alpha for you all as well, but let's give it 2 more minutes for extra questions. But we are gonna be around the chats as always, you know. Did I miss anything? Let me stop sharing my screen. Sudo, was there something I missed?
I don't think so. No.
Okay,
this was indeed great. Hopefully Salazar managed to record all of this, but I'm guessing you just went through basically the steps that are already in the documentation. So,
all right. I will say last few things. In this demo, I ran through a lot, but for many of you, a lot of these things are already known. And please remember that I wanted to cover it for the hardest way. That's the exit gateway. But some of you don't have to worry about it if you just run a mixed node for now. Now, few things which we would like to see is that those of you who are getting delegated or getting grants for exit gateway, to have system dedication. That means that if you're getting help from NIM to get a larger chance to get any rewards or directly paid, we expect to have your machines dedicated only for one purpose of that node. That also answers all those questions around ports. People were changing ports before. It works kind of a classic meme. It works on my machine. That is correct. But the NIM API is only looking for the ports which we listed in a firewall configuration in the initial setup, which you could see in the docs. So for the NIM VPN and the mixnet to correctly work, you need to have those ports open and running the nodes on those ports. Not that it works on a machine to come from 9,000 to 9,999. It's gonna work on a machine, but the NIM API is never gonna see that. And I figured people do that for 2 reasons. One is because you run other services on your machine and those ports are already occupied. Well, then you don't have to run the NIM services at all because they are not seen by our API, so you're not gonna get the connectivity. So it's useless. But especially if you're getting delegation or grants, then you're gonna be seen as non-working node and you're gonna be taken away from these programs. So please keep that in mind. I know the intention was really good. Why would I run Tor exit relay and maybe some Web3 stuff, and on top of that NIM, but it doesn't work like that. And second was, I know that some of you did this. I run the same node on 2 different ports, the newer version on a new port, and then I do like the upgrade so I don't lose the routing score. Don't worry, not. We're all gonna have to go through these hurdles of like maybe the routing score gets down for a little bit. We're working on that. It also improved massively. You could see that I stopped my gateway in front of you. I did it 8 times today. The gateway was paused. If you go to the Harbor Master and check the gateway or back in the video after it's out, you will see it was immediately up. There is no really, like, some people are gonna have issues which are for different reasons, but you have a proof here that it is working. And those issues we have to address together. We help each other. We definitely have stuff to do on our code and how the routing score is measured. But cheat around that with getting node running parallel on different ports on the results in the fact that the node is not seen to the mixnet. So it's a redundant in the first place. We expect those who getting delegation already or who getting any direct support to run any type of nodes to be migrated by the end of this month, by April 30th. You get a week for that, -1 day. So let's help each other, especially those of you who are like parts of squads or squad leaders or members of DAOs or something. Take this knowledge now, help your squads. I'm also anytime available. Daniel is available. CMs are here. Hooks is pretty busy, but he can, ping him if you need to. But mostly me and Daniel, perhaps Sudo, we're gonna be around. But more than that, distributed network only works if we also act distributed, and we have quite some spiced operators here, and I really like that. I see people coming over and over, whether, the screen's pretty big on this call, but I see in front of me John Smith here, Uncle M is here. Rossio, I see Ponflake, complete champion. Noders are around, just to name few. And I really like that people start to help each other more in like decentralized way. You might not see me in chats in some days. That's exactly because we create documentation order, so I don't have to answer questions later. But that takes me to kind of withdraw from the chat. But you can ping me. Please use the node operator chat for that. I'm not looking into all the chats and all the things because then I wouldn't do anything else. Salazar, Merv, Winkson notes, they definitely do. So I think that's it for us. It's not to punish somebody or not to like slash anyone. It's rather to to get to the aim of bring the privacy to the internet by working distributed network. And for that, we want to educate and incentivize people to run quality nodes. Therefore, these rules and these approaches are expected, especially for those we kind of like help directly with staking on top of that. That's kind of all from me. So I'll be around, and thank you very much.
All right, so you gave me 7 minutes for the hot alpha, Serinko. That's not very nice of you. No, I'm just kidding. It's totally fine. I think 7 minutes will be more than enough for me to slot this in. All of this information will come out on the node operators chat by the end of today. But we thought, these calls are by far the best still in the NIM community. Like, these are very cozy. All of our best people are here, and as a token of appreciation, we're sharing these news first here with you guys. Now, I will preface by saying that I'm sick, so the usual bandwidth that I have about 20% of that right now. So sorry if I'm like saying things in a bit of like weirder ways, and if I'm a bit slower today. All right, so as you guys know, and many of you guys are also participating, NIM has a delegations program, right? So the delegations program initially was created to support our node operators while they get from setting a node up to profitability, because it's sometimes quite difficult to get there. And if you don't have delegations, you're not making any profits. But if you don't have delegations, you're not getting any delegations, right? So this was the initial need that prompted the delegations program. Since then, it evolved. It had 2 rounds so far. It evolved into something completely different. As you guys probably heard or saw, the Squad Wealth Fund announcement recently, we actually tied the delegations program into this whole like circular system of creating funds for the community to support community contributions via these Quad League. And the basis for all of this is the delegations program. So we are using delegations program rewards from treasury tokens to support you guys in doing all the lovely, amazing stuff that you have been doing for NIM, including events, including workshops, and all of that good stuff, right? So with that, of course, the delegations program also needed an update, and that is what I'm bringing you today. This has been in the works for quite some time. Pomflix says that his connection sucks, but it's sad that he can't be here because he was the one who built all of this that I'm gonna be talking about today. For now, I'm only talking about the side that affects you guys as node operators. But there's also, just know that there's also a side on the NIMS and mentor side, which is affected by the new changes, because it's going to be way easier and smoother going forward to accept applications for the delegations program. And with that, I'm announcing to you guys first, which means that you also have an advantage here. Let me share my screen. That the delegations program with the CRM now behind it, which is created by Pomflix Explorenim, is opening up for another round of applications. But with this, there are some other changes that are coming to the delegations program as well. Instead of random type forms and all of that good stuff, going forward, you will be using this site here to apply for the NIM delegations program. You will have to provide your identity key, which is like the long ID, which you can find on your node's profile on NodeGuru, for example, and then your element ID. And you will also have to sign, just similarly to how you signed up with your node to the Fast and Furious tests. Similarly to that, you will have to sign with your node, sign a message with your node to prove ownership of the node. So we have a bunch of requirements here. These are, by the way, here, and they are updated in real time. So if they ever change, more on that later, then you will just have to come to this page and you will see what the current list of criteria are. So those are your profit margin cannot be more than 10%. Your operator cost cannot be more than 500%. Maximum saturation, don't mind this for now. This will be 30% finalized, but for now we have to change it to 100. I'll explain in a bit why. And the minimum average routing score, I believe that's for a week, but Pomflix, please correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's the weekly value, has to be 90% or more. So to enter the queue of the delegations program, you need to meet these criteria. And if you try with a node that does not meet these criteria, then you will be guided to like how you can change, for example, your profit margin, or how you can change your operator cost, or like your node has too high of a saturation, so that's why you can't register. Now there are some other requirements as well. One of which is, of course, as you know, your node will have to be able to do both IPv4 and IPv6. So these things are also part of the requirements. Now, the thing that changes and that will lead to some pretty significant changes on the communication side of the delegations program as well is that there's no more registrations once every 3 months or half a year or whatever. Registrations now are ongoing, and when you register to the maybe I'll stop sharing my screen actually, because all I can show is this. I didn't bring you guys a node, so you can at least look at my my sick face, which is always nice. So yeah, so by signing up, it's not going to be a time limited thing. You can sign up at any point in time, and you can you're going to be joining a queue, which is going to be open for registrations at all times. And then this queue by default is by order of arrival. So whoever registers first, they are first in queue. The second person is second in queue. Third person is third in queue. That is why you guys have an advantage today by finding out about the registrations opening first. But then this queue, the order of this queue may change depending on a few variables. So So this still needs a lot of work, guys. This is not by any means final, because we need to see how things play out in real life. A lot of these things will be actually pretty much all of these things will be up to voting. So you guys as node operators will be voting on what kind of changes we're going to be making to the entry requirements and all of that stuff. Obviously, those will be informed by the network needs, but together we're going to keep the delegations program fair, and we're going to make sure that people cannot exploit it, and that it helps the community as it was originally intended to. Now, things that can prioritize you in queue, contributors, so known contributors, squad members, ninjas, shinobis, or just very active nimsters, are prioritized by default. So if I see someone who I don't know at all versus someone who has been active in the community and has been contributing, contributors will always get priority. Yes, I will post. You know what? I'll post it now, but then nobody will pay it. No, actually, I will post it at the end, because as soon as I post it, nobody will pay attention to me anymore. So I will post the link at the end. So where was I? Can someone help me what I was saying? My brain is in a million pieces right now. Oh yeah, a priority, right? So we're prioritizing contributors and known community members because we saw quite a bit of, just like always in this space, right? Sybils and multi-accounters always come to try to take advantage of everything. This is why we can't have nice things. So that will be taken very seriously, continue to be taken very seriously under the delegations program. And one of the best ways to fight against multi-accounting and Sybil attacks is by knowing the actual people who we're engaging with, right? So in this case, if we know you as a member of a squad, or if we know you as an active contributor, then your node will get priority. The other thing that we used to provide like hard rules for, but we're not going to do that this time around, is countries. So certain countries may be prioritized down the line once we know what they are, but for now there's no country requirement. But if your node is running in a certain country, then later on, if the country is like a high demand country where there's only a few nodes, your node may get prioritized. Similarly, if your node is running in a country where there's a million nodes already, your node will likely get deprioritized in the queue. So this is the new system. Just imagine it not as like a application, many people apply and then people are selected from those who applied, but instead it's going to be an ongoing queue, right? It's a queue system, and every applicant is in the queue somewhere, and your place in the queue can be changed depending on these variables. So this is the general idea of the new delegations program. And then the other thing that is changing is that we're going to be saying goodbye to the delegations program closed space. So at the risk of like talking too much about like going on a tangent about other things, I'll just mention that in general, I used to think that these closed spaces to discuss things with participants of this or that program was a good idea, but increasingly I see that they are probably not. Why not do things publicly, right? From the things that you guys learn from mentors and from the things that you guys figure out together about running nodes, and the information that you guys are sharing as delegations program participants, other people can also learn. So everything regarding the delegations program is going public. So all of the delegation program related communication will be on the node operator channel. The node operator matrix channel, instead of the closed group that we used to have for this. The other thing, the new types of comms that are coming out, the queue, later on. So this iteration that we're starting with now is what Pomflix Grant. This was the first half of Pomflix Grant. Later on, there will be further developments, but for now, I will have to manually share with you guys the current status of the queue. So I will be sharing on a regular basis, especially when there are some changes, which nodes are queued and where those nodes are in the queue right now. I will also be sharing actions taken. So if someone's node loses delegation or gets delegation, those will always be shared on the node operator chat. So there will be this ongoing flow of information regarding the delegations program in the node operator chat. And yeah, that's basically it. I'm a bit over time, so I will stop rambling. All of this information will come out later today. I will need to write it up, and again, my brain is at like 20% efficiency. But before I go to bed, I promise I'll be posting this info in the Node Operator chat. I will open up for questions for the last remaining maybe few minutes, and I'm sharing the link now, so you can sign up. Oh yeah, very very good question, Daniel. So about yeah, so good question by Vincent about VPS and country decentralization. So yeah, very common, again, very common VPS providers may get deprioritized. We will share these as we go, right? If I see like I don't know, 80% of applicants run their nodes on this or that VPS, I will be sharing on the Node Operator chat that, hey, going forward, we'll be deprioritizing this VPS provider. Similarly, if I see a lot of nodes coming from this or that country, I will say, hey, this country gets deprioritized. Or I will say publicly with all of you guys, so you just need to keep an eye on the Node Operator matrix chat. I will say that, hey guys, we're seeing a ton of traffic in this or that country, and we need more nodes there. So we prioritize nodes in that region. Yeah, but in general, right now there's no like hard requirements. Yeah, limit about the amount of mixed nodes one person can have. So you can have multiple mixed nodes. Again, multi-accounting. So if it ever turns out that you use a different element handle to register a different node, then all of your nodes are out of the program forever. So that's a very strict no on that. We don't tolerate multi-accounting here. You can register multiple nodes, right? Right now, all of these things may change, and you will know if they change. But right now, you can only have one active node in the program. So if your node has received delegations already, then you can join the queue with another one, but that node will be like very low in priority because everybody who only has a single node will be above your node in priority. Again, depending on where the network takes us, right? What kind of changes we'll see when NimVPN launches, we may actually want people, especially contributors, running multiple nodes. That may change, but for now, we only want one node by every person which is actively in the program. If your node left the program by successfully achieving community delegations, then you can join without deprioritization. You can join the queue again with another node, because that means that you're a very seasoned node operator, and we can trust you with operating a good node. All right. If I keep my VPS in a specific location and now I have to change VPS to comply with new requirements, should I keep current location, or I'm free to take another location? I'm in the delegations program. So if you're already in the delegations program, to keep things simple, please don't change anything. And everything that we discuss now applies for the future. Go, Sarinko.
Please mind that we do expect people to be committed to run Exit Gateway when it's possible, but as of now, we only delegating on top of mixed nodes.
Yeah.
The requirements on mixed nodes are mostly your mixed node is most likely gonna be mixing where it is. A lot of the things I went through with the network manager is for Exit Gateways. We do support some people running that, but it's a whole different discussion. So for mixed node, which is Nimnode mode mixed node to be fully correct, you're very likely gonna be running just fine. Make sure that you can read it on the Explorer and everything. But we're gonna get deeper into that. But worry not, this is not. There is a bit of different requirements on gateways in mixed node right now.
Yeah, good point, Sarinko. I left this out on purpose. In fact, I asked Pomflick before this call to remove the requirement of opting in to run Exit Gateway, because I didn't want to confuse you guys. So that requirement, the requirement of all participating nodes having to also be opting in for Exit Gateway will go live once Gateway rewards are turned on. So right now, that's not the case. You also can't run these, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Sarinko, but you can't run these simultaneously. You still need to select. You have the same binary for both Gateway and mixed node, but you have to select which mode you're running in, right? Sir?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. So once that's not the case, once you can run these simultaneously and gateway rewards will also be enabled, that's when all delegations program participants will be required to also run an exit gateway. This was a requirement from the get-go, by the way, guys. Those of you who applied for the delegations program previously, you already know this. But more on that later. I really didn't want to confuse you guys with this. Just please, going forward, make a habit of keeping a close eye on the node operator chat, because all of the stuff in real shared with you guys there. So if going forward, the requirement is to also run the exit gateway, right? Once you can do so simultaneously and gateway rewards are turned on, you guys will be notified, right? So just keep a close eye there. The other thing that I did not mention, since we're at those things, is that your node has to be like fairly up to date, and there are things such as this like pack of changes that you're required to complete before the 30th of April. Stuff like that may happen, right? As a delegations program participant, besides only running the mixed node on that machine, right? You're also expected to sort of keep a close eye in the community and hopefully also help others. Okay, so question from Vincent, and I think this will be the last one, probably. Those that already have delegations should still sign up, as I think current delegation that maintain their node won't be removed, right? Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, I didn't mention this, so thanks for raising. Those who already have delegations need to sign up again. Okay, so if you don't sign up through this new process with your node which already has delegations, you will lose delegations, just like previously. This is a way for us to check whether our node operators are paying attention or not, and also we want to avoid having some people register in one way and other people register in another way, because that leads to like bad data and kind of and a few issues on our side. So that's basically it. Again, guys, this is just the tip of the iceberg. What you're seeing is just a part of the operator facing like side of the plan, not even all of it. The plan is much bigger than this, and there's also like the team facing aspect of this, how we handle on our side the queue, how we can manage and organize this program is absolutely amazing going forward. So it's going to be much more time efficient. Both Daniel, myself, and Palmflake can attest to the fact that we spent literally dozens upon dozens of hours selecting people in the from sheets, previously. All of that stuff is now gone, and we're like this is like a huge boost to the delegations program even before all the other stuff is added. So for this, Palmflake is not saying anything right now because his internet connection is not great. But I want to thank you, friend, for building the system. It's really huge for the community and also for the project. So big thanks, and this is also among those NSL contributions that I'm really proud of. So yeah, that's all there is to it, folks. Oh yeah, of course, Ollie's not here, Palmflake's brother, but he also had that a bit. So also thanks to him. Now, with all of that said, if you guys have no other questions, Nim chocolate. John is asking whether we're getting some Nim chocolate for signing up. I don't know. I'll see what I can do. I'll talk to Santa Claus and I'll see what he says. But maybe we can make it happen. Go ahead, Serinko. Hello.
Oh, my microphone was off. Sorry. Here I go.
Yeah, go.
All right. So I don't know how many people is in this call and how many slots are open, but basically what you can see, 34. I can assume that if the queue is gonna work how it's gonna work and everyone here signs with one node correctly, you're automatically in. This is a drop of a news just for being in these calls. Like you already getting. I'm not saying, and when I say automatically, I mean if you go according to the rules which Sudo just said. But more than that, please remember that this is not a token harvest thing, because with these automation and with our mission to have working Mixnet as replacement for the surveillance around the world, or alternative to that, we need to have nodes which really work. So if you're gonna be rushing just for harvesting token, we're gonna see that pretty quickly, and you're gonna be kicked out. So I would like to, say that we all are here, everyone can help each other, but perhaps if this is the first time you hear about anything like a Nimnode and you've never seen a command line and stuff, maybe try to join some of the squads, try to join the channels. You can learn these things pretty quickly. We got Shipyard. This session was recorded as well. However, aim for quality, because that's gonna give you more reward than if you think that you can do something quickly for sake of few tokens. That's not gonna work for what we need to work. Therefore, it's not gonna work for you neither, because in long term, this is not gonna get rewarded. So with that said, everyone who's getting grants or wants to be part of any delegation program, get up to migration to the Nimnode to the 30th and get the, if you're on a gateways, make sure to get the peanuts instead of a chocolate, John.